I don't blame Kanye for living his life. I blame you.
Relax and take notes.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to Public Living, the art of being outside. This small portion of public living is called Take Notes. The reason why is because often I'm out and I know I'm not going to remember the things that happened. So I take a little note, I write on a little piece of paper, and I talk about it later. Today's is something I wrote down this weekend, and it was just with all the Kanye controversy with the White Lives Matter fashion display he put on, if you want to call it fashion. I thought I'd take another spin, another crack at this topic because, he's been so polarizing and a part of my life since I was at least in my early 20s with his first album. With that being said, I want to tell you a quick story. I became an entrepreneur at 26. And to be honest, I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to be in a creative business where I was able to ultimately get some of my ideas off and make some money. I didn't understand that was creating an agency. I didn't understand media. I really didn't understand anything, but I knew I wrote on a piece of paper all the things that I enjoy, and those things led me to this creative path. With that being said, I was stuck after that. All the motivation in the world, but I was stuck. And I had to take some time to find people that were in or close to being into what I wanted to be, what I wanted to do in my life. Now, how that started for me is I went to Best Buy. I spent all the little bit of money I had left on a camera because I wanted to create this website about, the best clubs to go to, the best lounges and all that stuff. And when I was going to these clubs and lounges, really, I was leaving after work 6, 7 o'clock at night and really knocking on the doors of clubs. Nobody would answer. Didn't realize at the time, it's probably common sense, but I didn't realize at the time that all these places don't even open up until 10 and the owners get there at like 9:30 just to open up, have a system down. So they're never there. But this promoter that I knew pulled me aside one day, kind of schooled me and told me, hey, listen, these people don't even show up until 10. And by that time, they're busy. You really, in order to do business with them, you have to be around later. But nevertheless, that's not part of the story. The part of the story is that promoter introduced me to two guys, Brian and Ray. And Brian and Ray, when we met with them, number one, they probably canceled the meeting 3 or 4 times. It took a couple months to get the meeting. And then when we finally got the meeting, one guy walked out in shorts and flip-flops. He was on his Mark Zuckerberg. Another guy walked out, Ray, in a 3-piece suit. And you could just tell he was just fast-moving guy. I walked into the office and, I fell in love. I saw everything that I wanted to do. I was coming from cubicle life. Everything that I wanted to do was in motion already. These guys had an office. They had people plugged in, locked in, it looked like early Facebook. And I say all that to say, I'm going to fast forward this story. Those guys were not easy to reach. In fact, we tried to create something together. They were so busy growing as a company that they kind of, in the best way possible, told me that they weren't in the space to work with me. So what did I do? I remember that particular promoter saying, you know what, in the gambling world, we call this the cool down stage, and I'm just going to fall back for a second. At this point, I had already been fired from my job, and I really needed some guidance on how to move forward. So I found another mentor and a friend of mine named Suleiman. Long story short, I stalked Brian and Ray and Suleiman. I knew when Suleiman had events coming up. I knew where Brian liked to eat sushi, and I just happened to be there certain days. I knew when this particular company that Brian and Ray owned was producing a large scale event, they'd have to be there. So I used the last little bit of my money to buy a ticket and show up. And ultimately, I ended up working with all 3 of them, over the course of the last 10 years. but I chased these guys. I proved myself to these guys. These guys canceled more meetings than we've ever had. They've canceled. I didn't take offense to it. You know, in certain areas, I remember I remember Ray would often say, walk with me. And he'd be on the move somewhere. And any questions I had, anything that I needed to know about the business, even sometimes, you know, things that he had to tell me that I wasn't even asking questions on, I was literally chasing this man as he was walking, doing other things. I say all that to say it's a very humbling but fruitful pursuit to find a mentor. It's not an easy thing. You have to find specific people that do specific things that can tell you how, not that. Oh, you should do this. The mentors teach you how to do a lot of things. And that brings me to current date. I realize, especially in the Black culture and community, but I'm sure in all cultures, there's an arrogance to young people, and they have a hard time chasing someone down for the answers. And that's why celebrities become your mentors. You know, for some strange reason, one of the guys that I looked up to in music, Kanye, is now the guy that I look up to in fashion. I'm not really into Yeezys. That's just me personally. I'm not really into, like, you know, post-apocalypse, you know, fashion. That's not my thing, but whatever. And now we're listening to what Kanye says as far as politics, and ridiculous. You know, as much as I respect Brian, Ray, Suleiman, three of many people that helped push me through my career in different areas and taught me different things, I'll tell you what, I'm not going to call Brian for his fashion sense. Not to say Brian can't dress. I think that's not where I look up to him. You know, I'm not going to call Ray and ask him about, Ray's a white guy, he's an Irish guy. I'm not going to call Ray and ask him about, you know, Black music and lean on every word he's listening to or he's saying about Black music. You have to find mentors, which is a humbling position. And once you find them, you'll notice doors open up. Low-hanging fruit mentors like celebrities or people that are easy to meet. The reason why, if you get a mentor and that person is too easy to meet, too accessible, here's a little secret. That person's not busy doing what they say they do. Most mentors, unless they're retired, are too busy in the process of actually doing what they say they do to take all your calls, to show up to every meeting, to answer every question when you need it answered. Mentors are hard to reach. Celebrities and people that don't know what they're talking about aren't. So I say all that to say, I'll land this plane by saying the Kanye West controversy needs to start. We need to look in the mirror. I don't blame Kanye for living his life. I blame you. I blame him. I blame in the past me for looking up to Kanye in an area where we shouldn't. Find your mentors. Make sure they do specifically what you need and can give you how-to advice, not high-level advice. And that's the best I can say today. So I hope this made sense. Just my take on the Kanye controversy. If you disagree, please comment below. If you agree, comment below. Also, lastly, if you've had a hard time finding a mentor in a very specific space, let me know that as well. I'll tell you what, it's a full-time job finding somebody to teach you how. That's why they have schools, and schools don't even do it right. You know, schools, you pay all that money, they don't teach you how. So long story short, find you a mentor. Stop looking up to celebrities that haven't done the work and every facet of life, which is unfair to ask someone to do anyway. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, I'll see you later.
What's next? Give me something else. What can't you do? I can do it. I can do anything.